So I thought I would offer a little message for the holidays. Have you ever been stuck in a holiday with someone you really didn't want to be with? Be honest now. I hope that person wasn't yourself, because it's a little hard to get away from ourselves, and sometimes it can be tough when we don't even want to be around us. But I'm talking about someone like a know-it-all neighbor, or an annoying uncle, or a codependent coworker, or an insane in-law. Some of you know what I'm talking about. It's easy to love humanity. It's just people that are really hard to love. But here in Oklahoma, we have something that people in other parts of the country don't have, which is that all-purpose expression, bless their heart. Right? People in the South know how to bless someone's heart in a way that will cover up a whole host of sins. Poet Richard Newman captures the essence of this double-edged phrase. He writes, "At Steak and Shake, I learned that if you add bless their hearts after their names, you can say whatever you want about them and it's okay." "My son, bless his heart, is an idiot," she said. "He rents storage space for his kids' toys. They're only 1 and 3 years old." I said, "My father, bless his heart, has turned into a sentimental old fool. He gets weepy when he hears my daughter's greetings on our voicemail. Before our steak burgers came, someone else blessed her office mate's heart. Then, as an afterthought, the jealous hearts of the entire anthropology department. We bestowed blessings on many a heart that day. I even blessed my ex-wife's heart. Our waiter, bless his heart, would not be getting much tip, for which no doubt he'd bless our hearts. In a week it would be Thanksgiving, and we would each sit with our respective families, counting our blessings and blessing the hearts of family members as only family does best." You see what the rest of the country is missing out on? When, those of us in the south part of the United States, we have this very sly little expression that can be very useful. No doubt, some people really do mean kindness and blessing when they say it, but so often it's really just used when we insult somebody to make us not feel so bad about ourselves. It's like the definition of a diplomat, someone who can tell you to go to hell in such a way that you'll look forward to the trip. Now, what got me on this train of thought was when Dorothy Shikoda, and I can't believe Dorothy's not, I'm talking about her, she's not even here. I hope you're listening on the internet, Dorothy. I'm looking at you. I can't believe she's not here. But when Dorothy, a few weeks ago, she said that she told us about someone who cut her off in traffic. Do you remember that? Dorothy, as many of you know, she is our greeter at most weeks here at 11:30 at this service. And she says each week, as Nicole did so beautifully, here at All Souls, we tell everyone they are included in God's love. So a few weeks ago, she told us that earlier that week, she'd been cut off in traffic by someone, and she said she's really been trying to live into the spirit of love in this church and inclusion. And so when this guy cut her off, as she noticed a familiar 4-letter word forming in her mind, she instead found herself staring down her new nemesis thinking, even you, my brother, are included in God's love. And we all cracked up when she said it, because we know how easy it is to sit here on Sunday morning and sing songs and hold hands and talk about everyone being included in God's love. And it's a whole nother thing to live it every day in our lives. Talk to me, somebody. You know what I'm talking about? I could tell when she said it that it was genuine, though, that she meant it. Dorothy, it wasn't like, bless her heart, bless his heart. No, she meant it in a way, because what she was doing was she was not focusing on him. She's smart enough to know she's not going to change this man. She's not going to even change his driving habits. She focused on her. What can I do? Who am I? Can I really love that fully? Or are these just words we say in church? Are these just like any other church with saying lots of platitudes but not necessarily living it in our everyday lives? So she looked at herself, and she figured, you know, if he's worthy of God's love, then he's worthy of my love too. And keep in mind that to love someone does not mean we have to like someone. There's a big difference between loving someone and liking someone, all right? So there are a lot of people that I will never like, probably, but I can love them in the sense that I know that they're worthy of kindness and compassion and God's love. So saying he's included is different from saying bless his heart, because you can say bless his heart and then you can go run him down and show him how it feels, you know. Today I'm going to share some thoughts about how do we deal with difficult people in our lives and difficult situations in our lives in ways that doesn't bring us down, that doesn't bring us to be someone that we're not or someone that we don't want to be. Now last week, Bishop Carlton Pearson was here. What a blessing. He was in here from Chicago with his family. It was wonderful to see his children, Julian and Majesty, his wife, Gina was here, and his folks were here, and I see his mom came back, so that's even better. Thank you it's great to have you here. Let's keep working on his dad so that he's back here next week too. No, tell him hello for us. And it's just a blessing to see your son and to have him every time he's here. It's a blessing. And in his message, he said that when we don't like someone, it's really what we're saying is, I don't like the way I feel or the way I act when I'm around that person. And the question I have is, why do we give people this much power over how we feel and what we do? Why do we let people get under our skin like that and have that kind of power over us? Why do we let them disturb our peace? So one of my favorite quotes on this comes from the Dalai Lama from Tibet, who said that when asked, you know, are you angry at the Chinese people for what they've done to your country? They stole your country and they've harmed so many of your people. And he said, you know, they've already stolen my country. I'm not going to let them take my peace of mind. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I ain't no Dalai Lama. Or even, I ain't no Dorothy Shikoda. Right? Because, you know, I can sing songs about it. I can subscribe to a scripture that says, love my neighbor as myself, but don't actually think I can live up to doing it. Well, we have to remember that Jesus didn't just say, love the lovable people. That's easy. We don't need Jesus to come here and tell us, love the lovable people. He even said, love our enemies. Right? That's what this is about when we say everyone is included in God's love. So I've been looking for some practical ways, some advice that I could share about how we can keep the peace inside even when there's insanity and turmoil all around us. What it's about is, how can we be who we want to be, who we know we are, even when people are trying to drag us and pull us down. Now, if we were in another kind of church this morning, we'd be talking about how to keep our heads up when the devil's trying to bring us down. How do we really live in a way that expresses everyone is included in God's love, that love is the spirit of our church, because it's about love. And so I took these four ideas I had to share with you today, and lo and behold, they spell out the word love. Sort of. All right, so the L is for listen. Now, when we're in a conversation with someone we disagree with or we know is wrong, we usually don't even listen. We've already tuned them out. We're thinking about how we're going to explain to them how wrong they really are. Right? And so we have trouble listening to people, and we often think listening is with our ears, but it's not. Listening is a full body contact sport. We need every bit of our bodies, our hearts, and our minds in order to truly listen to what somebody is saying, especially when we're in conflict. We need to listen for the song behind the words. Right? Because turn to someone and say, there's a song behind the words. Now, when someone is saying that those people and those policies are going to destroy our democracy, the song behind the words is, I'm scared. I'm scared of what's going to happen. I'm scared of what's going on. When someone says, but if you don't believe in this or that, you're going to go to hell, what they're saying is, I'm scared for you. Or maybe they're even saying, I care about you. What we need to do, though, is we need to look also at people's body language. You know, what are this? When someone's like, no, I'm cool. I'm all right with it. I'm comfortable. I'm fine. We can do this. No, I don't think so. Right? But we don't pay attention with our eyes anymore like we used to because we're always busy doing something else. So my wife can attest to this. A few days ago, she came in to tell me something, and I was in the middle of texting somebody, and so I thought, of course, I can do two things at once. I do that all the time. So I said, yes, honey, and I said, uh-huh, and I nodded a few times while she was talking, and we had a nice conversation. I finished my text, and then a few minutes later, I got busted because I asked her a question about something she had just told me about. I know it's just me that has this little problem. But the idea is that we have to listen. We have to listen not just for the content of not just the words, because we get hooked by the content. We get all into, it's about this, it's about that. And we don't listen for the song behind the words. We're not paying attention to that, because if we can find the song behind the words, sometimes that's where we can connect. This person's scared. This person cares. And then we can start to direct the conversation into a real conversation, a conversation worth having. We need to be paying attention. What's the conversation that needs to happen? So that we're not just being dragged down rat hole conversations with people that don't really matter. So L in love is for listen to the song behind the words. And O is for oh snap. Do you know this expression? This is more useful maybe than bless your heart, actually. So, oh snap, Now, I think snap is a replacement for another four-letter word that starts with S. I think that's where this comes from, but it's an expression of unpleasant surprise, like, oh snap. In this case, it's that moment when Dorothy got cut off in her car and she noticed herself uncontrollably wanting to give the single-finger salute to this man, and now we know Dorothy would never do that, and Dorothy, if you're listening, I know you would never do that, and we all do, but we can imagine that she felt the urge. We know about the urge. But at that moment when she noticed the devil trying to lift her finger without her approval, see, as soon as she realized it, she wrestled back control of her middle finger and says, oh snap, I almost let myself get hooked. Right? And let's just say that snapping is a better use of the middle finger. Right? So let's practice that. Use your middle finger and snap. Right? That's what it's meant for. That's what it's meant for. All right? The point is that when we see ourselves being triggered, when we realize that the situation is activating our evil twin, who lives with us all the time, just ready to come out, then we need to snap, and we need to stay in the moment. We need to pause. Some people have a name for their evil twin. It's good to name the evil twin, because then you can kind of joke about it, like, oh, here he comes. He's coming out again. She's coming out again. You got a name for, you got to talk that evil twin off the ledge sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But it's about that pause. It's about recognizing what's happening to us and pausing, because the pause allows us to respond and not just react. And that's what makes us, it's the pause that makes us different from animals. Right? Animals don't have a pause. They just do, it's instinctual. They do what they're supposed to do. But we have the ability to pause, to stop, and say, choose, who do I want to be in this moment? What do I want to do with this moment? What do I want to do with my life in this moment? So animals and actually insane people don't have a pause, but the rest of us do. But we need to work on lengthening the pause and paying attention to it. So, oh snap, hopefully that'll remind you when you're in that situation. Now, of course, for me, being a minister helps, because if I'm driving, I'm not about to give the single finger wave to somebody, and then, because I could see him walking into the church the next, Sunday, and I'm going to feel really ridiculous. So that helps me to be on my best behavior. I don't know what helps you, but I hope that you find something. It's like when the Dalai Lama notices himself becoming angry, because it's not that he doesn't feel anger sometimes, but he notices, he said, that's not where I'm going with my time. They've already taken my land. I'm not letting them take my peace of mind. And it's the same if we're divorced. If you're divorced, your spouse has already taken your family. He or she has already stolen your dream of your future that you had. And now it's a question of, do I want to let them have my peace of mind too, the rest of my life? Are they going to control it? Because I'm not going to, get a hold of it. Same when somebody dies. It's same in so many when we lose our job. There's so many things that happen to us in our life, and we need to remember that we get to choose. That's not instantaneous, like someone cutting you off in a car when it's death or divorce or a job or something more serious. But we have the ability to choose, and it starts with the pause. And so we need to work on not just reacting, but responding. All right? So the O is, snap, right? With that sense of unpleasant surprise when we realize that our evil twin is coming out again. Now, L is for listen, O is for snap, and V is not for victory. Remember, some of you remember when Nixon was elected president, he's like, the V sign, that meant victory. But now it means something different. What does this mean now? Peace, right? So the V is for peace. I know that's a little different, but remember, V is not for victory. The goal is not to win. In these arguments, in these debates, we get sucked into these conversations. It's not about winning. We're almost never going to win one of these conversations. So we need to remember that. And I mean, it would be so nice sometimes. You just think, I just want to leave this conversation with this person knowing how wrong they are about whatever it is we're talking about. But quite frankly, winning is not the goal. It's about being in a relationship. It's about, what do I want? This is my friend, this is my uncle, this is my coworker, whoever it is. Who do I want to be in? What kind of relationship do I want to have? I have an uncle who, I don't see him very much anymore, but when I did, it was, I finally learned, I'm not going to change his mind. I mean, he has some very interesting views about people and life and politics, and I realized I'm not going to change him anymore. So when I see him, if we decide to debate, we know what we're doing. This is a matching of wits and wills and ideas, and we try to have fun with it, and we never let it get personal. That's the problem, is that it gets personal real fast, and then people are offended, and then people get mad, and we're thinking, what is this? I just want to be in relationship with this person. So the V is not for victory. It's remembering. It's not about victory. It's not about winning. This is about peace. This is about relationship first. People before politics and policies and other problems. So look at someone and say, peace, my brother, peace, my sister. V is not for victory. Now, E is my daughter's favorite one. She's been laughing about it all weekend. She's going to turn 4 next week, by the way. Can you believe it? She's almost 4 years old. So E stands for easy peasy lemon squeezy, which is, of course, a biblical reference. I mean, it's a translation, of course, but it's from the original Hebrew. I think it was when David killed Goliath with one stone, and he came back, and the Israelites, he was a teenager, remember, and the Israelites said, how'd you do it? And he said, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Or something like I said, in the idiom and the language of his time. This could be a new translation. I could do a new translation. But in the English, the expression comes from, I looked this up, it's from a British TV commercial from the 1970s. And as I understand how the commercial goes, there's this little girl who complains that her aunt, to her aunt, that the dishes, that she's supposed to do the dishes, they're all greasy. And her mother admonishes her and then produces the lemon squeezy detergent. And the result is, of course, astoundingly good results. And the girl says, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right? So the final point here is that in order to love in a way that really includes all people in the spirit of this church, it means that when we do get drawn in, when we do get drawn down, when we do say things that we know are not the best of who we are or who we want to be, then we need to go clean it up. We need to make it right. So we need to be big enough to apologize when we realize that we've gone from being persuasive to abrasive. in a particular situation. Because in the end, it's not a matter of if we're going to get into disagreements with people, it's a matter of how we're going to disagree with people. And when we mess up, we need to get out the lemon squeezy and we need to clean it up a little bit. Now, an appropriate apology can be the most demanding aspect of love. But there is no love without apology. It's not easy peasy pudding in pie, I understand that, but it is the most important piece, one of the most important pieces of being loving. And now, I'm not the Dalai Lama. I didn't grow up like the Dalai Lama, people telling me I was a reincarnation of the Buddha and all the rest of it that he did. But I grew up in an Italian family. I've said that before. We're very, at least on my mom's side, we're very passionate people, the Italian people. So when we get together for family gatherings, it's loud, it's noisy. People talk with their hands. We argue about everything. We look for anything to argue with. And so when I was growing up, at the table, when things got too exciting or too excited, that someone would just say, "Pass the pasta." And there's something about, you can't really argue with people when you're sharing really good food. When you're really having good food, it's kind of like communion in church. When we break bread with people, it's a little harder not, to see them, to be in dispute with them. It doesn't mean that when we do have communion in a church, that we agree with everybody that's around us, that we have the same opinions, that we have the same politics, that we have any of the same things. But it's the idea that in churches where we have communion, that we're breaking bread together, because when we eat together, it's a sign, it's a signal, it's a rehearsal, if you will, of the fact that we are one family, the human family, and that we're meant to be together in that way. So you've heard of the book Eat, Pray, Love. All right, so I've told you about love, and I've told you about eating, so now I want to say a word about prayer. When we're dealing with a difficult person or situation in our life, prayer is powerful, and here's why. For one thing, we can pray for another person. When we pray for another person, it sets our own intentions in our own heart in a different way, in a more positive way. It may not do anything. It probably does nothing for the other person, but that prayer changes our own heart and our own intention towards the people who are in our lives. Now, it can't be a prayer like, "I hope she falls off the end of the earth, God." That's not what I'm talking about. And it can't be, "I hope she's struck dumb so she can never speak. I don't ever want to hear another word out of her mouth, God." It's not that kind of prayer that I mean. But what I'm saying is that when I'm in conflict with people, I say prayers of positive intention for their lives, and it does help me to reshift my focus and be more the person I want to be in the world and in relationship to them. Now, it's even more powerful, not just praying for someone, but praying with someone. I want to talk about really powerful, and I know that that's very hard, obviously, when you're in conflict with people and people in your life, that you're probably not going to be able to pray for them. But what about people, how about in your relationship? How about your spouse? Or someone who you're very close with, or your children? If you're married, praying together can work wonders, especially in a time of conflict and difficulty. Now, very few couples outside of praying, those who pray together, will actually sit across from each other on a regular basis, like every day or every week, and express a positive vision for their relationship. How many people are going to sit there, how many couples are going to sit there, at the dinner table every day or every week and say, "Honey, I'd like us to be more kind in our interactions together." Actually, I know these conversations, how they go. It's kind of like, okay, I want us to be more kind with each other. I want us to be more affectionate with each other. It's more like that, when you're having those conversations. But even if you try, out of our best self to say, I also hope that we'll, be the best we can with each other. We'll speak kindly to one another, and no matter what comes up between us, I hope that we'll be able to open our hearts to one another. That's a conversation that doesn't often happen with couples. It can feel kind of stilted or awkward at times. It'd be great if it did, but it doesn't. And so, what if we take each other's hands and we hold on to each other's hands, even when we're going through a rough patch? But it's even better if we do it when we're not going through a rough patch than when we are going through a rough patch, and say, "God, we seek to keep our hearts open to each other during this busy time, during this stressful time, during this holiday time, during this difficult time with the in-laws here and all that going on." And we want to feel the deep love between us. and be more kind to each other. We pray, God, that we will rise to be good parents for our children and that we'll overcome the stumbling blocks that come between us. You know, it's harder to throw a plate at somebody when you pray with that person. And it's easier to have an honest conversation with someone with whom you share a prayer life. So I realize that praying together may feel like quite a stretch for some people in this congregation and some couples, but I'd like to just put it out there as something that can be a very powerful tool and transformative tool in a relationship. And guess what? It's simple, it doesn't take much time, and it's completely free. So I share that with you as something that you might do. Eat, pray, love. Remember, L is for listen, for the song behind the words. O is for those oh-snap moments when you catch yourself being hooked and you need to pause to choose who you're going to be. The V is not for victory. What's it for? Peace. And the E is for easy peasy lemon squeezy, which is we got to clean it up when we've gone too far. So let us not only tell each other in these walls that everyone is included in God's love, and let us live it outside every moment of our lives as best we can, and when we mess it up, come back in here on Sunday mornings and be re-inspired again to try again one more time. Because as we do, let us remember that all of us are on the way. None of us have arrived, and let us allow that to keep us humble. And let us remember that at the center of it all is a simple little word spelled L-O-V-E, love. I love you. Amen.